The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Wow, well, welcome back, everybody. Joining us today is the dynamic Dani Beit-Or, founder of Simply Do It. He has an impressive track record of over 5,000 real estate transactions. Now, Dani has become a trusted expert in simplifying remote real estate investing for busy professionals. Known for his hands-on guidance and strategic insights, Dani empowers investors to build financial independence with a straightforward, results-driven approach. Now, we can't wait to dive into his wealth of knowledge and hear his expert advice on the current real estate landscape. So guys, help me welcome the one and only Dani Beit-Or. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thank you. Happy to be here. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Tremendous welcome you on. But yeah, we're going to dive straight into your real estate journey and spare no details. What inspired you to pursue a career in real estate, and how did you get started?
Yeah, that's a good question. What really inspired me was me being a young engineer, just starting my adult life, let's just say, after getting my degree and working for some high-tech company, and realizing that when I look around and I'm just getting my kind of like my real, first job, as an engineer. And I'm looking at all those people around me, either the colleagues, my parents, older cousins, uncles, my parents' friend, and I see a lot of people working 15, 20 plus years in whatever profession, and working hard, ethics and everything, and then hours and missing on personal stuff along the way. I know it from firsthand from my parents and close relative, and I'm like, what is going on here? I see all those people for so many years working, and they have barely anything to show financially for those years. Maybe, in most cases they own, like a house or an apartment with a mortgage, and that's it, right? And many of them are even, maybe not financially struggling in the sense of surviving, but they're not flourishing. And I looked at this, and I'm a young guy at the time. I'm like 22, 23. I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, something is off with this formula. I don't know what is the answer. I don't know what is the right path, but I know what is not. Me working like everybody else for the next 10, 15 years, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but me following exactly that path, this just didn't make sense to me. And that's when I put myself on a 2-year quest, both to teach myself on real life finances. I have a degree in engineering. I've been through different classes on economy. I know balance sheets. I know micro and micro economy. But you know what? That doesn't help me with my degree when you talk about real life stuff, right? So I had to put myself on a 2-year journey to learn about finances, real life finances, and investment, and kind of start getting my real life financial, literacy up to date, up to speed, so I could put myself on a different path. So that was kind of a journey that ended up putting me interested in real estate. So that's acknowledgement or realization of this is not something I want to follow in terms of the path, was the kind of the big aha moment. Those led to 2 years of learning and really spending a lot of time on different things around me financially, ending up me buying, a single family home in a small town called Phoenix, Arizona, completely out of, this is 2002, completely remote, like I bought it on paper, let's just put it this way, without even traveling to see it before I purchased it. Afterwards I did travel. So that was steps that led me to the point that I realized real estate is a vehicle that can propel my income, my leverage myself, leverage my financials, maybe my monetary financial, but also my knowledge, and will take me to a different path than I see with everybody else doing. I just didn't. I just was not willing to walk on that path like everybody else before me. I needed to carve my own differently.
No, most definitely. It's good that
Yeah.
it's good that you mentioned that you analyzed where your future wanted to go. There's a lot of people out there today that initially they're either stuck, they don't understand the path they want to go on, or they either just realize too late. They will be working 20, 30 years. They get to the age of, say, 50, 60, and they're like, oh, I've been working all this time, but I don't have anything to show for it. So you're truly blessed that actually
Yeah.
the universe to give you the vision to know what you want to do
I
from a
agree.
young age, which is tremendous. A lot of people today just
Mm.
I think they just want to stay in the rat race and work the nine to
Yeah.
five. But at the end of the day, we don't blame them because that's all
Not
they
at
were
all.
taught, you know. If
No,
they're
not at
taught,
all.
yeah, you should go get a job, go to primary, secondary, get a job, go to uni, get a job, and then work 9 to 5 until you're 65, then retire. You know, it's works and it's built the system here today. But if you look at the the time scale from the amount of time you're working and the time you get at the end, it's just not worth it. So
You,
it's
yeah.
down to the education. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that people have a understanding of the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, in my opinion, it's like, okay, a lot of people say whatever they do, something about it or not, it's something else. But just the idea, the seed of I have to leave the rat race. And in my opinion, you don't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. I didn't leave the rat race. What I did is I leveraged the rat race. The rat race is not, it's just a bad term. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? When you are employed, then you have an income. When you have an
Most
income,
definitely.
your safety net and your personality and you're less stress. Now it's all about what you do with the reserve or what you earn and how you can leverage
Mm-hmm.
it. And when you have money that you're able to navigate and save and use as down payment to buy rental properties, then you are leveraging the rat race, right? You're
To then
leveraging
create,
your work.
yeah, to then create
Yeah,
generational wealth. Whereas in most days,
exactly,
people don't
exactly.
understand. They get their paycheck, they pay their bills, and then they spend it on God knows what. But if you actually have the information and you arm yourself with the knowledge, then you can retire much younger and then use the active income, invest that into, say, a pot where you can then use
Right.
that for real estate, and then you're getting passive income, build that to a stage where you've got so many properties under your belt now. You don't have to actively go and get that income. You can go on podcasts like
Yeah.
yourself, you know, and help others.
Yeah.
But in regards to, let's talk about like the agents and investment market now. Why are most agents steering away from the real estate investment market when we have the knowledge and know this is the market to create generational wealth and passive income? Why are most agents steering away from that?
Yeah. You know, I've been asking myself these questions for probably 20 years. And it blows my mind that the most people, first of all, let's just not put not all agents are born equal. I
Hmm.
know many agents that they do invest themselves and maybe work with clients, but I think the majority of agents, when I find someone, that it's not clearly someone who's thinking about investment, if they are an investor, they're almost always an accidental investor, meaning
Hmm.
they bought a house for themselves to live in, then something changed in their life, like grow the family or something, and they moved on to their next house and kept the other one. So all
Hmm.
of a sudden, they didn't mean to be investors, but they are investors. So they didn't really plan for it, and it just worked for them accidentally. I always, I think that realtors, agents are um, either they're afraid of the investment side or they're just not taking the time to educate themselves. Fear, the opposite of fear is not bravery. The opposite of fear is education, right? It's learning. It's
I
teaching
like that.
yourself about something. Yeah. So if they just spend the time to educate themselves, even for their own sake, I'm not saying, if you're an agent and you educate yourself about investment, then you will have the ability to add more value to your clients, right? Or you may be able to have a client that you help them with buying or selling a house and help them then do an investment. But you know what? That's it. That's like amazing. How about just for your own sake? Who's better than to be exposed to real estate, to understand real estate, to be exposed to opportunities, to know the people, like to know inspectors and lenders and title and everyone in the industry, better position than someone like an agent or someone in the industry, right? So why aren't you an agent taking the time to, I'll make it simple for most agents. You bought your own home, just buy the house next door. That's it. Or across the street, right? Or next to wants to. That's it. You know the area, you know real estate. You just, buy one more house. I always blows my mind how come a lot of agents, when I meet them, they're 10 years, 15 years in, and what do they have? One house for themselves, which is great. But why didn't you buy? And as agents, as people, as investors, for me, the question is always not if I can do it. That's a wrong question to ask. The question is, how can I do it? What do I need to do to make it happen, right? And when you ask yourself, it's a yes or no question, as should I do it or can I do it? You may answer yes or no. But if you ask yourself, you know what? How can I make it happen? What do I need to do to buy another piece of property? Let's just say I have no money, right? How about tapping into your own network, friend, someone partnering, something, right? You're in the business. You're not close to the plate. You're sitting in the middle of the plate, right?
Yeah.
Of the opportunity. So it's, I don't know. 20 years, I'm asking myself that question. It blows my mind.
It's most definitely a thought to think of, as like you touched on before. It's the network that you're already around and the amount of exposure these agents already have. Like, why are they not capitalizing off this when you have the exposure
Exactly.
to build the generational wealth? But I think it's the lack of the education side. But what's going to motivate them to actually go out and start educating themselves? It's the comfortability factor, where some people like the 9 to 5, and with agents, I found like they're either sales guys sitting on behind a desk just trying to, or you find the real hustlers, and the real hustlers are the ones that have their pots in, like hands in different pies, that connect with
Right.
investors and try to get on the ladder themselves. They're not just there to fulfill the 9 to 5. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe
Who
someone in
knows?
the comments can
Yeah.
elaborate a bit more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. If you're an agent and you're listening, tell us why you are not. And if you own real estate as investment, perfect. But if you're listening to this and you have not purchased investment properties, how about you share it with us, right? I really want to know. It sounds like you would like to know. It'll be nice input. Just, whatever your take, right? Whatever the listeners' take on that, that'll be terrific. I'm just
no, most
purely
definitely.
interest.
What
Curiosity. Yeah.
what are some, just in regards to people doing it, they actually decide and following through, speaking from a place of experience, if we've made the mistakes, we initially have the knowledge to ensure others don't make the same mistakes. But what are some common mistakes that agents make when considering real estate investment, and how can they try and avoid them?
Yeah. So first of all, start by not avoid mistakes and be and realize you will make mistakes, right? It's just not avoidable. Something is going to happen. The question is, if you're afraid of making a mistake, then breaking news, there will be mistakes, right?
Most
Usually
definitely.
the mistakes are not that horrific, right? For example, you estimated the wrong rent and the actual rent is $250 below what you expected or planned, right? That's not horrific,
Yeah.
but that's still a mistake, right? So I think that the one thing that I do myself and I tell others to do is, is to write down those list of mistakes you're afraid of. Write down your fear or your risk, the risk you're seeing in a transaction. And I mean, literally write it down, right? when we are thinking about investing or altogether real estate or not, immediately we have kind of fear and risk coming into our mind, right? But that's like a cloud, that's a blur. But when you start identifying item by item, okay, what is my fear? Will I be able to rent? We don't need answers yet. Just identifying the fear factor. Can I rent it? What if I have problems with a tenant? What if I don't know, I lose my job and I can't pay for the mortgage? Just itemize those things one by one by one. Make it a 10-item list. Make it a 30-item list. You're just sitting with yourself and itemizing it. And the reason I'm saying write it down, because it just comes out of the cloud into a specific item you are facing. Now you have a problem sheet you need to solve. Solving a problem sheet that you created with a clear problem, right? That's a much easier task than just, clouding blurrily about it, right?
That's one thing I heard as well. Just in regards to finding a problem, I think it's either Maslow's law or another law, Heinz's law. It's once you face a problem, once you analyze and you can understand what the problem is, that's 50% of the problem solved.
50% of the problem, of the solution, is identifying.
Identifying, right? And once you identify, you can tick, okay, what's going wrong? We can move towards a solution. But coming over the mistakes, but to find a problem, who knows what the problem was? You need to make the mistake. So you don't take losses, you take learning curves. There's no else. There's learning curves. So it's good that people that you mentioned and you touched on, not being scared of making mistakes. I would say mistakes are very necessary for your personal development and growth. But just in terms of like growth, let's talk about trends in the market, whether it's growing or declining. What trends do you see in the real estate investment market today, and how can these agents position themselves to capitalize on these opportunities?
So I'll start by saying that I think every market presents an opportunity, right? We just have to find the right angle for that market. So for example, right now we are recording it end of October 2024. We are a few days away from the election, in the United States. And I can tell you from my experience, this is my either fifth or sixth election cycle in the US. Every election cycle, probably around the 6 months leading to the election, so that means every 4 years, the 6 months leading, which we are just at the end of that stretch, there is always some, or at least it seems there's always economical slowdown. It's almost like people are saying, I'm going to wait and see who's the president in order to make a major financial decision, such as buying or selling a house, right? This is not data supported. This is just someone who lives in this world and just get a sense, and again and again and again. So in my opinion, I tell my clients right now, listen, here's what's happening. I've seen it before. We are coming from a period where real estate was very, like a lot of demand in the US and very hard to buy. And all of a sudden there is a temporary shift to a buyer's market a little bit. And you're not capitalizing over it. Like, why aren't you capitalizing off this opportunity? All of a sudden, in the past several months, I see many more attractive opportunities that I've seen probably earlier in 2024. So this is just reading this period. My personal belief is that once the election is over and we're already getting an indication the interest rate is went down and probably will continue to go down, and we know there's a lot of demand for the demand for housing in the US is greater than the supply. I think it will come back again to all of a sudden, a lot of people that are sitting on the sideline will come back and be more competitive. So the real estate market, probably beginning of 2025 will be again a little bit more challenging, right? This is assuming nothing major happens with the economy. So those are the general trends. Personally, I have to tell you that I don't want to say I don't care about the general trends or the macro trends. I do, But for me, it comes down, I call it, I don't make a philosophical investments. I make an actual investments.
Okay.
Philosophical is like we can debate what the economy will do, right? And at the end of the debate, I may be right, you may be wrong, you may be right, I don't know, right? We will both not know who's right and who's wrong if we're philosophically arguing about it. One thing I do know, whatever we decide when we continue a conversation philosophical about the economy, when that conversation is over, there's probably nothing much I can do based on that conversation, right? What actions am I be able to take? However, when I look at the market and I look at this property and this property, and maybe even a third one, and I can compare them based on their own merits, and maybe I can even leverage how to get one of them to sweeten the opportunity.
Okay.
That is for me very realistic, right? Very actionable thing. So it's not philosophical. So it's not what is the economy is doing, is what is this property doing, or what do I believe this property can do for me, or can I leverage current economical atmosphere to make this, the middle one, better because it's been sitting on the market for a longer period of time. So that's something I like to leave my guidelines with, more pragmatic and what can I do about it, and less be philosophical, because the philosophical is good, but usually I'm not able to, I'll be very humble and say my ability to impact world economy, US economy, and those kind of factors are very limited, very limited. I would like to say practically nothing. So I need to be able to work with something and not just debate about the economy, right? For example.
Yeah, it's a special 3 words I like to call it. It's a question of perspective, right? You have right and wrong, where you go towards a philosophical standpoint of view. Anyone could be right. I
Yes.
could think you're right, and you could think I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
And it could be that there's no such thing. It's a question of perspective. But then
yes,
what's true for one can never be a lie for another. Now we're going to the facts,
correct.
figures, and numbers. Well, how is this property performing? If you're looking at it from that standpoint, it's much more. You're going from an analytical point, where in property or real estate, as we call it over there, you shouldn't be too worried, because anyone can be right, anyone can be wrong. So if you're actually going at like what are the truths, and making your investment based off the truths instead of what's right and wrong, I feel like you can say be much more protective. And once you're being more conservative, you're stopping yourself from being shot in the foot generally. But no, for so much value, the viewers are going to love the gems. But just in where you're going from here, like I know it's Q4 now, but just in terms of like this year, next year, like where do you go from here, buddy?
Yeah. So my background as an investor and someone who leads an investment concept has been for many years long-term rental properties in good areas, right? I call it boring real estate. I like the a couple with the kids and the dog and whatever in a good school, and that has always been my bread and butter. But what I've been doing in the past year and into 2025 is I'm trying to kind of squeeze more out of that lemon mainly to get more juice or more rent out of the same concept. So, for example, for years we've done those long-term rentals, and we just started already doing same properties that we bought before, but we put them as what we call hybrid rental.
Okay.
Hybrid rental, in short, it means combination of mid-term rental, furnished houses like Airbnbs, not exactly, a little bit more furnished, but for people who need it for a month to 6 months, give or take, right?
Okay.
For insurance reason or executive relocating or whatever, something that a family needs to live in that house for several months, right? They really need to live in that house and be able to use it like their own house until something happens in their life, right? That is an opportunity for a higher rent significantly higher rent.
Yeah.
Now, we call it hybrid. That's called midterm rentals, right? Midterm rentals, a month to 6. The hybrid comes from the idea that we offer that property to Airbnb and other similar to Airbnb renters, like short-term renters, in between the midterm, right? So if we have a tenant that comes in, let's just say we have 10 days between one midterm tenant and another midterm tenant, we're gonna try and squeeze someone there for a week in like an Airbnb kind of a scenario. That's the term of a hybrid rental. So that is just the idea, is looking, it's all of a sudden it kind of makes us look at the property, not as a house or as a rental property, but as a space. I need to maximize the space. What do I need to do in order to maximize the usage of the space, right? With a clear goal that I'm, chasing the midterm rentals, but in between them, what can I do? So if I can rent it for a baby shower for a day, I'm game. If I'm renting it for, which happened, renting for a bridal shower or something, or a party like a bachelor party, something like this, for a day, I'm in, right? So that's kind of a thing where we're seeing those spaces being leveraged more than just a family that comes in and going to rent it. They are at a little bit higher level in terms of, like, they look like a little bit more like Airbnb in a way. We actually they need to be more than Airbnb, because Airbnb, sometimes you stay there for a few days and you don't really cook. And you really barely use it because you order in and so much that. And this is a place that people need to be able to cook their food fully.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I want to touch upon the point where you said that your bread and butter was the family homes. Now you want to squeeze more out of 11. The lemon. Was that a result of the changing interest rates and trying to navigate or make a bit more, say, profit in the current market, because the base rates have shot up tremendously? So I know a lot of people, they've found, instead of just renting to one family, they're being more innovative in the usage of their properties. Would that have been a result of, like I said, the interest rates changing or the current market dynamics?
So it's absolutely we're not ditching the long-term traditional rental plan whatsoever. It's still the bread and butter. But I felt throughout 2023 and 2024 that we are struggling to meet a minimal cash flow. With the increasing in interest rate, like you said, and also the gap between, property values went up, rents also went up, but not as much. So there's that gap between the value of the property, the ratio between value of the property and the rent. That was also, there was an erosion of that gap. The ratio went down. So we are always, listen, always, my entire career, cash flow was a challenge, right? The type of properties we buy, they are not cash cows. We don't buy cash cows. We buy nice places. So cash flow is always a challenge, right? Especially when interest rate and values went up, that became even greater challenge. That pushed me to start looking for other avenues to increase the cash flow. And I didn't feel comfortable with many of them, right? For example, there's a trend of splitting your house into your 3-bedroom house, converting it to 6 bedrooms and renting 6 bedrooms. Financially, perfect. I have nothing against that idea. Realistically, here's what's happening from what I looked in, right? And that's why it held me from actually acting on it. It just means that you're probably renting for someone who can afford, instead of $2,000 a month, can maybe afford $450 kind of a thing, $500 a month. So that's a whole different tenant. And also, some of those houses, you are illegally converting them. Maybe not illegal, maybe illegal. Illegal is not the word here, but if there's going to be, you're making spaces that are not bedrooms to be used as bedrooms. And then if something happens insurance-wise or something else, you're going to be on the hook. So I just felt that this is not the place, that the game I want to play. Financially, it makes perfect sense, but it's not the game I want to play. So I spend a lot of time researching, can we tap into that market? I'm still not against it. I'm just trying to find my subcategory in that niche. I'm working on something, but splitting one house to 6 tenants, that's a hustle. And those are many times lower end tenants in terms of their ability to rent. And then you're all of a sudden, instead of dealing with the family, you're dealing with someone who's maybe struggling to pay $500. And then people sometimes think students or I don't know, young professionals. Many times those are not the people. Many times it's just someone who's basically struggling to pay rent, and they can barely afford 500, and that's a problem for you.
So touching on these strategies, like we going back to the beginning, these agents and that are not really understanding what to do, and the direction to going. Would you be open for the viewers today to contact you via Simply Do It, and you probably give them a bit of coaching, bit of direction, bit of mentorship? How could they get in touch? Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah. But what we're gonna do. Tremendous. We'll attach the website below, and guys, if you're an agent or you're an investor, please reach out to Dani. He's got, like I said, over 5,000 real estate transactions, and he's become a trusted expert, as you can hear and see today. But yeah, just wrapping things up, I got one last fun question for you, Dani. If you well, as you know, the Icons of Real Estate, this is #1 podcast network, and we're passionate about making podcasting accessible to everyone. But question is, if you had your own podcast, what would you call it?
I do have my own podcast.
Okay.
And it's called it's called Guided Real Estate Investing by Simply Do It.
Okay, guys. Okay, we'll drop the link.
But I'm thinking maybe I should name, now that you challenge me, maybe I need to have a better name.
Yeah, no, most definitely. No, it's a good name. It's a good name. I just didn't see it on your website. No,
Guided Real Estate Investment by Simply Do It.
Guided Real Estate Investment by Simply Do It. Okay, guys, you got it. How can our audience reach you? Via your website number? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah. So I have my web identity is Simply Do It. Simply Do It. Our website, our podcast, the YouTube channel, everything is Simply Do It. So if you just write anywhere, simplydoit.net, it's our website, .net, not .com. But if you just Google Simply Do It real estate, that will very likely 99% will lead to our page, one of our pages. We're all over the social media, YouTube, everywhere. So, and we monitor all those incoming. So one way or another, I'm sure we'll be able to connect with anyone who listens or who hears this.
That's the way. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now, Dani, as well. I'm gonna catch up with you again. But guys, Ethan Thomas at Icons in Real Estate, and we have Dani Beit-Or from Simply Do It. Thank you for plugging in. If you need anything, be sure to reach out, drop us an email, drop us a call. But thank you again, Dani. You've been tremendous, and it's been an honor to have you on the show.